Joe, I'd like to ask you a question, Joe, and get your perspective on this. And certainly, in just having chit chats with family or friends, you hear this kind of perspective that, people just don't want to work anymore. People aren't interested in working. They'd rather sit home and collect unemployment. What do you think about that? Do you think that's a reality?
I think there's some truth to it, but I can tell you people have said that pre-pandemic as well, right? People have said that about the millennial generation. People have said that about every previous generation, right? That people don't want to work or they don't want to work anymore, or it's a lazy group, right? And I think the
Mhm.
pandemic has brought in a piece of that, and there is some truth to the fact that there's individuals that have chosen to stay home on the federal unemployment benefit because they'd be making as much not working or close to, versus if they were working.
Mhm.
And there's some truth to that, but in reality, there are tons of people out there that are looking for work.
Mhm.
Right now, they might not be looking for the work that you're offering, but there are a ton of candidates that are actively trying to work out there right now. Um, we've seen a shift earlier on in the pandemic, right? There was more of a, I guess, fear of or risk of working from a health perspective that was perceived as people not wanting to work. But it was really, people are at home with their kids or taking care of, elderly or at-risk family members, which is really more the reality rather than them not wanting to work. I can speak mostly to obviously entry level talent because that's the world that I live in. And I can promise you there's no college student or high school student that's living on unemployment right now. And that entire demographic does want to be working. So part of it might be just shifting your perspective and focusing on more entry level, bringing in younger or newer talent to train and develop them from the bottom up. And changing the way you are recruiting, right? The days of kind of just posting and praying on job boards and having a flow of candidates walk right in your door, right? Just isn't the reality pre or post pandemic in the past couple of years, right? You need to be more proactive in your search
Mhm.
as an employer in order to get the talent, right? You look
Sure.
a year ago pre pandemic, right? There was more jobs than there were people, right? And it's what can you offer versus the company down the road that attracts talent to you now, right? I think there's a little bit more of a shift there, but it's still a world where there are a ton of talent out there. You just have to proactively go out and find them, right? And the analogy that I give to business owners a lot is if your sales team was just um, posting your products or your services and waiting for people to call them, right? Would they be doing a good job? And the answer is of course not, right? And recruiting's the same way. If you're just posting a job and waiting for the right people to walk in the door and stay for 2 decades and build their career, right? You're misinformed, right?
Yeah.
So you need to be proactive and create relationships, create pipelines to build your company bench.
Yeah.
I was going
I
to say, I
think.
just
Oh, go
just
ahead.
came off a call earlier yesterday with a manufacturing company that was saying it's actually been good for him because within his area, a couple of companies had to lay off some really qualified, high-skilled candidates, and he was able to come in and hire 3 people immediately because, I mean, yeah, they had the opportunity for unemployment, but they didn't want it.
Mhm.
And so he was able to bring them in and kind of contrary to my commuting comment earlier, it's like, yeah, one of the guys is even willing to drive in an hour for a machining job. It's like fantastic. So it's, there are those opportunities out there.
Something we're seeing a lot too is competitors in the marketplace that might not fall into your employment category. So, right, you think manufacturing, right? That's a lot of shop floor operations type positions, right? And while you might not be losing candidates to your competitors, you are losing candidates to Amazon, right? It's the same type of position, requires a lot less manual labor, and those positions, at least in our area, start around $18 an hour. No resume required. They don't drug screen, right? That's who you're losing to, right? So you have to look beyond your competitors when you're deciding if your offer package is appropriate. You have to look at right what other roles might that candidate take, and it's really nice to work at Amazon, right? And it pays really well. And so, are you losing candidates to those fulfillment centers that are around the state?